Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. So ROBEISY Ramirez makes a successful first defence of his WBO World Featherweight title. He knocks out Satoshi Shimizu in Japan in 5 rounds. And this wasn't this it wasn't. I mean, I thought ROBEISY Ramirez won virtually every round. The fourth was kind of competitive. But you just got the feeling that it was only a matter of time from the word go. Shimizu, 37 years old, didn't turn pro till he was 30. Two-time Olympian, I think won a bronze medal, according to the commentators. It was an American commentary team. Apparently he beat Isaac Dogbe on the way to winning a medal at the Olympics. But that was many years ago, and at 37... especially down at featherweight, you got to wonder. Guy came in with 11 wins, 10 KOs, so he can whack a bit. He had one defeat, which was back in 2019. It was a 6-round TKO to Inoue Inoue of the Philippines. Since then, he'd only fought 3 times. I mean, inactivity, age, no real people on his resume that are instantly recognisable. He did score 12-round victory in 2021 over a guy called Masashi Mori. That was in Japan. The guy was 12-0 at the time. He picked up an Oriental and Pacific title and a WBO Asian title or something with that. But you thought this guy's a rank outsider, and so it proved. I mean, Ramirez was about 6 or 7 inches shorter because Shimizu is like a 5'11" featherweight and so thin, so tall. And yet, he doesn't use his feet that much. He does jab. Well, by the way, both these guys were southpaw. So Shimizu was firing out some half-decent jabs. But whenever Ramirez got into range, instead of using his feet to get out of the way and going back to the jab, Shimizu would just sort of... He'd do 2 things. He'd put his hands around his ears, put the earmuffs on, so to speak, but he'd also lean his head forward, which left him a sucker for the uppercut, and more of that later. Ramirez, who, again, about 5-6 inches shorter, far more explosive with the punches. I mean, if I have a criticism of Ramirez, it's that there were too many periods of inactivity, and I think that these 2 things are connected. There are too many periods of inactivity, and also he loads up with every single punch. Every punch he wants to hurt you with it. There's no varying of power. He did start landing some good body punches, and he started to land some good uppercuts as well from virtually the first round. And Shimizu showed some guts. He wasn't really at any point able to hurt Ramirez, but when he jabbed, he was able to sort of... By about the 3rd round, he was hanging a few combinations off that jab, and at least he was giving Ramirez something to think about. But he was so bolt upright, apart from the head leaning forward, he's very, very vertical. Didn't move his feet that quick. He looked to me, well, yeah, I think this is true, he looked like a guy who'd been in the amateurs for too long. He still had lots of amateur traits, even though he's 37. Whereas Ramirez looked like a pro well, he's 29 now, so he's at least, if he's not in his prime, he's damn near close to it. But he's now had 14 fights, 13 wins. He lost his debut and then avenged it on points. And now that he's stopped Shimizu, he's 8 KOs. But everything about Ramirez looked professional. It looked like he'd had more than the 14 pro fights. Don't know what happened in his first fight. Complacency, I guess, something like that. But he did avenge that points defeat. And since then, he's looked the part, won the title, vacant title of Isaac Dogbe. Handed Abraham Nova his first defeat. Nova was 21-0 and Ramirez stopped him in 5 rounds. That was back in 2022. So he's on a roll and looking good. Again, I'm not without criticism. I think that there are periods of inactivity. And when a guy is coming to him and jabbing and firing combinations, I always like to see fighters try and punch between the offense, between the opponent's offense. Ramirez himself puts the gloves on, puts the earmuffs on a bit, and tends to wait for the guy to finish instead of trying to counter too much. But there's no doubt he's he's got the power. He was always going to be too much for Shimizu, and in the fifth round, Shimizu, having had a pretty good fourth round, he actually did let his hands go and had some success against Ramirez. Again, it didn't really hurt him, but he at least got his attention and made him think. In the fifth round, though, it weren't happening. I mean, Ramirez, again, explosive with every punch, landed left uppercut, so that would be, I mean, he's a southpaw, so up comes the uppercut. Again, Shimizu just stands there with his hands, with his earmuffs on, doing nothing, and it's almost like Ramirez said, well, thank you very much. You know, bang, bang, two uppercuts, down goes Shimizu, he gets up, the referee has a look at him. I did not like the look on Shimizu's face or the look in his eyes, and then basically Ramirez just tore after him, got within punching range. All Shimizu did again was try to cover up, didn't use his feet nearly enough, and Ramirez battered him, and the referee stepped in and stopped it. So 5 rounds is what it took, or should we say 4 rounds and just over a minute was all it took Ramirez to make a successful first defence. This was on the undercard of Inoue and Fulton, and at featherweight you might think, well, I wonder what's he doing on that card. Maybe the promoters, which are Top Rank, are thinking, okay, if Fulton gets beaten and Inoue wins, maybe we'll put Inoue up at featherweight with Ramirez. You never know, do you? I'm going to wonder, why is ROBEISY Ramirez on the undercard in Japan? I wonder. Anyway, did you see this fight? If so, leave your comments below as usual. Like the video if you liked it. Hit the subscribe button as usual, and I'll read your comments and answer them. We've got the big one to come, Fulton versus Inoue. Brace yourselves. Bye for now.